Hey everybody, so in this video I'm going to show you how I grouted my frames, starting with this Kente inspired cloth one. And you're going to need a few items here. So obviously you're going to need your grout, and I've chosen a white coloured grout, and this is by a company called Mappy, and in particular I've gone for the Ultra Colour Plus, but you can use any kind of grout, any kind of powdered grout. You're also going to use gloves, masking tape, a sponge, cloth for wiping at the end, your squeegee, which is a potter's squeegee, or you can have a flexible credit card or old store cards, your pot for water, and your water itself, cold water that is. First thing I did was protect the inside of the frame, and I just took out the white paper at the back of the frame and then just put it into the middle, and I'm going to now secure that with some masking tape. So as you can see, I'm not being very neat with the way I am tearing off the masking tape. I'm eyeballing the actual size that I need and then tearing it accordingly. And if you do, tear it a little bit too short, you can always cut off a little bit and just replace that little bit there. And I'm just placing at the very, very edge of the frame, just covering the frame itself and being careful not to cover the tiles themselves. So just to save a little bit of time, what I did here was I cut a length of the frame, and then I cut the actual masking tape in half, and I used that half on the other side, and I did that on all four sides. So just a little tip there if you want to speed things along. In my pot, I've got approximately 3 to 4 tablespoons of grout, because there's not really much surface area that I need to cover. So I've got really more than I need and enough for the 2 frames. Please remember to put your mask on, or make sure that you're in a well ventilated area when you're mixing your grout. And here I'm just adding it bit by bit and mixing it in slowly until I achieve the consistency that I need, which is a smooth peanut butter like consistency. Once you've achieved the consistency that you desire, allow it to sit for about 3 to 4 minutes before commencing the grouting process. Give it another stir and you're ready to go. Next, with your rubber kidney or your flexible store card, you can go in and start to spread the grout into the spaces of your mosaic tiles. Don't be too soft with this, but before you do this process, do check to make sure your tiles are firmly stuck and secure within your mosaic frame, because there's nothing worse than tiles coming adrift whilst you're doing the grouting process. So make sure you do that first, and then you can go ahead and do the process that I'm doing right now. Once you're happy that you've pushed in all the grout into the spaces, you can then go over the top of the tiles and start to take away the excess grout. It makes the cleaning up just that little bit easier. Now, even though I've done that process, I still missed a couple of spots. So just keep checking diligently, going in with a really keen eye and filling in those gaps, because you do not want holes in your grout once it's done. So with this frame, I am not going to mask it off because the actual frame itself is made of kind of like a plastic material. So I believe that the grout is just going to wipe off quite easily. So I haven't bothered to mask the frame itself, but I have covered the inside, as you can see. And the same thing applies with the grout, just pushing the grout into all the spaces, and don't be gentle, be quite firm with it, not too rough obviously, but quite firm, making sure that all the spaces are completely filled in. Next, we're going to use the sponge method to clean up our mosaics. So you need your sponge to be as dry as possible, not too wet at all. We want to try and take as much moisture out of that sponge as we can. And you're going to just wipe in one direction on one side of the sponge, and then you're going to turn it to another clean side and wipe down again, and keep doing the process until all sides of the sponge are dirty. And then you're going to put your frame aside for about 10 to 15 minutes while the grout slakes, and you'll see like a haziness appear on top of the actual tiles. Now I'm just showing you here, when you wipe a little bit too vigorously, you can wipe away some of the grout. So just be wary of that. And if that does happen, then you need to always have your grout handy so that you can refill those parts that come out. Now I had to do this a couple of times because my tiles were different thicknesses, so some bits were raised and some bits were a little bit flatter, so the grouting was a little bit problematic here, but just keep going and eventually all the grout will end up where it's supposed to be. The frame has now been sitting for a few minutes, so now it's time to take off the masking tape, and this is the part that I really love. It's quite therapeutic for me, but just be mindful that because the grout is drying, it has turned now to powder, so it will be a little bit dusty when you take this off. Next, it's time to clean up your mosaic and get rid of the residue, and you're using a clean cloth for this one. And because I've got white grout, I'm using white grout, I have used a white lint-free cloth to do this. If you had black grout, I would use a darker coloured cloth because you don't want any white lint or anything going into the black grout and vice versa. Now this part can take quite a long time, so do be patient with yourself and do this thoroughly because it does take a little while to get all the residue off the tiles. Also, you may want to remove some of the excess grout with a small implement. This is like a small pasting glue stick that I've got here. It's quite flexible. You can also use a toothpick or any sharp object just to scrape away any excess grout, that stubborn grout that doesn't want to come off with a cloth. And there we have it, two wonderfully grouted and polished frames. Now I will probably give them another polish after it's completely cured. The grout is completely cured, and after that they'll be good to display or gift to your friends, whatever it is you want to do. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions at all, you know where to find me. Have fun! Did anyone spot the design flaw?